on Game Talk Live, we take a look at the biggest and best announcements to come out of this year's E3. Plus, Fortnite's massive presence that may have redefined what the conference is all about. Let's get to it. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Andy Roman, and welcome to Game Talk Live, where we discuss the biggest video game news of the day, live with help from our chat audience. Joining me now are two expert guests to discuss these gaming topics and more. First up is Marcus. Marcus Beer is a former PR director who has launched over 100 titles, including Ghost Recon, Delta Force, Black Hawk Down, and Fear. Marcus has more recently been a media commentator covering games for NBC4 in Los Angeles and hosted his own show, Annoyed Gamer, for GameTrailers.com. Hi, Marcus.
I'm Andy.
Glad to have you. Also joining us is Markeia McCarty, a host for Popcorn Talks Marvel Movie News. She's a lifelong gamer, comic book reader, and classic console player. As a nerd culture and gaming journalist, she provides content for numerous outlets, including Nerdist, Screen Junkies, Collider, Machinima Studios, and Maria Menounos' AfterBuzz TV. Hi, Markeia.
Hey, Mandy. Glad to be back.
All right, guys, let's hop right to it. Fortnite has seen the spotlight and explosive growth over the last few months, and Epic took full advantage of the game's success on the floor at E3. The game's only new announcement was its release on the Nintendo Switch. However, gamers were disappointed to find that if they had linked their Epic account to their PSN account, they were locked out of playing on the Switch. Is this just a sneaky business tactic by Sony to keep people on their platform? Marcus, what do you got?
Duh. I mean, what? Sony being sneaky, kind of nasty dickishness, shocker. Look, I love my PS4. Obviously, it is winning this console generation, but we are talking about Sony here, and Sony do not have a track record of playing super nice with other people, which is really ironic because for the first time, the PS4 is basically a PC. And it has the architecture to be able to support crossplay. But they obviously want to go, yeah, you can't share your games with mine because we're frightened of everybody else. Yeah. So, yes, I just think they're being really quite annoying about this. Kudos to, Xbox and Nintendo for working on the crossplay thing, because at the end of the day, all Sony's doing is harming their own sort of like gamers, cutting them off from playing with other people. And you know what happens when you inbreed like that, you die out. So Sony really need to get. And I'm kind of saddened by this because Sony have had a huge lead, and they've really been leaders. This generation console-wise, and as we'll discuss shortly with the rest of the E3 stuff, I think they have taken a bit of a kicking, and deservedly so, this E3.
Sure. I mean, in this case, you could probably say that the game is more valuable than the console. I mean, typically, exclusives sell consoles, but in this case, it would probably be in Sony's best interest to kind of play with everyone. I mean, what do you think, Markeia?
Well, I love the way that Marcus put it. That was pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, trying to think of why in the world they would go about, why would they do that? And the only thing I can think of is that they're trying to just nab even more players that are on the Switch and then have them link, their accounts to the Switch, and then they can't do crossover. It really, it's kind of a little bit like gatekeeping, and it has an older mentality to it. And by older, I mean just like an older system kind of mentality where it's like, oh, our console, do it this way, us no further. And they need to realize that we are so interconnected now that it doesn't make sense. And it actually kind of ticks me off a little bit because I know I don't play Fortnite a lot by any way or shape by the imagination, but I do have everything linked to my PS. So if I wanted to put something on Nintendo Switch, then I just don't have that option, or I'm just going to have to start from zero. That's not cool. I don't want to do that. Why would I even bother playing it on my new system?
Absolutely. Yeah. And to some of the naysayers I've seen in some articles, they're like, well, the Battle Royale mode is just free to play, so why don't you just make a new account for Nintendo? But they're missing the whole point that all the skins, all that money you have invested into Fortnite does not get to come with you because you have locked your Epic account now to your PSN.
And God forbid that people actually can now take Fortnite on their Switch on the roads, which means that they will probably play the Switch version more than the PS4 version and start buying stuff through the Switch version, which means Sony's cut of that epic loot is going to start shrinking because they're being dumb about it. They you know, to quote an old person film, the more you tighten your grip, the more galaxies will slip through your fingers.
Oh, very well said. I like that.
I love that. What film is that? I'll watch it.
You kidding me? Star Wars.
I don't know. Sorry, I missed that one then. As in that particular quote. I saw the original Star Wars
It's Friday.
Forever ago.
We've all been at E3 all week.
Princess Leia to Grand Moff Tarkin.
Okay. It has been a very long 2 weeks for me.
Yeah, busy.
You know what? This has been
Obviously, I need to rewatch.
It's been a very long 2 minutes for me because I've just aged exponentially. I mean, you watch Captain America Civil War, you know, where Spider-Man talks about that really old movie Empire Strikes Back. I just had that moment. I just felt like Tony Stark.
Sorry to do that. Yeah.
I'm going to go and like I'm going to move to Florida and drive a golf buggy.
Perfect.
Oh, don't move to Florida. Don't.
All right, guys.
My family's in Florida.
Yeah. I do want to mention Fortnite also hosted a massive Pro-Am tournament at the LA Coliseum. I don't want to dive too deep into kind of this esports thing, but, you know, Marcus, I would love to hear from you as someone, you know, that's been attending E3 for a long time now. How do you feel about kind of esports tournaments either being part of E3 or kind of happening coincide at the same time?
I think having them coincide with E3 is fine. I think if you have them somewhere like the Coliseum or, you know, maybe somewhere where the attendees won't burn to death, you know, that would be great. And I'm all for, you know, the public participation. And, I think, you know, their fan fest went really well. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the big Fortnite party on the Tuesday night. However, because I am old, I needed to be plugged into my CPAP and, tucked up in, you know, before my caregivers went out for the evening, you know, so I was in bed. But no, look, I think it's great. I mean, the reactions, I've seen so many pictures of people kids having their minds blown and just being so happy. And that's what is the great aspect of gaming. And as we will talk again, you know, a little bit later on in the show, just to make sure people stay tuned, I'm just not sure that it needs to be mixed in with E3. I think having it adjacent to is better. But I'm not against it because I love the reactions and I love that there are generations of gamers who are just having such phenomenal experiences.
Right. Markeia, do you have any thoughts around, esports either happening as part of E3 or kind of alongside E3?
Well, I like it happening alongside just for the simple fact that it is, it's an immersive experience, right? It's the biggest con that gaming has right now, kind of like Comic-Con would be for comic books and now movies.
Wait, were they really all outside? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Markeia. This is the first time I'm seeing this B-roll. And to Marcus saying that it was all outside, he was not kidding. That looks very hot.
Well, you know how hot it was these past couple of days.
Yeah,
and you know these are people who don't go out in the sunlight.
I mean, they had a visor. They got some protection from the sun. All right.
That's good. They're all getting their vitamin D that way.
Absolutely.
We spend too much time indoors anyway.
Yeah. So, Markeia, did you get a chance to check out any of the Smash Brothers stuff at the Nintendo booth?
I was able to because I was very much into Marvel's Spider-Man, and that was just across the way. So, wow, there was so much excitement that was going on for that. I absolutely love that they have all the characters. I think it's 63 that have been released so far.
I mean, 66 total so far have been announced. So it could even grow from there.
Yeah, no, I love that nobody has the excuse of, well, if they had my character, I would have, demolished you by now. I love that that is completely taken away and you can explore all of these different characters. I mean, it's not just going to be, oh, I always play Kirby. Oh, I'm always Star Fox. It's like, now I have Ridley and Beware My Sweet Spot. So I'm really looking forward to having so much fun with Ultimate.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move away from a little bit of the esports discussion here, and we're gonna take a quick break here, and then we're gonna dig deeper into all the announcements that came out of E3. We'll be right back.
We have 75 players in here. Let me hear you make some noise.
All right, welcome back, everybody. E3 isn't just about the show floor. There's so much going on surrounding it, including special events, trailer releases, and unique experiences. So you two were both there this week. Tell us your favorite game experience or announcement was from the expo. Markeia, why don't you start us off?
That's actually, there's a tie for that one. It would have been Marvel's Spider-Man, which is definitely deserves IGN making it their top action game for, E3 2018. Definitely. They get the web slinging right, which I am so excited about. It kind of reminds me of back when I played Spider-Man 2 on a PS2, and it was that you actually had to, you had to attach the web to buildings as opposed to just appearing in the air. That plus the action is so fluid, and I love the graphics with it. During the demo, I had this part where I was able to capture these armed thugs in a car and web them outside of the car and then had to stop the car from crashing into, civilians. It was epic. And I thought that would have been my top moment. And then I went to the Fortnite party. Yikes. They went all out. It was like a frat boy rave. And I could not get enough. The attention to detail and just like the congenial air and also like in and out was just being thrown out to anybody who wanted it. And they had slurp juice. It was crazy. I really enjoyed that.
It was a good party for sure. All right, Marcus, what was your favorite thing out of E3?
Well, obviously the deep dive into Fallout 76 was really interesting to me. Obviously, we discussed it a couple of weeks ago, and I totally got it wrong with regards to my prediction. Oh, look, what a surprise! Look. I've wanted a Fallout Online since I played Fallout 3 on the Xbox a decade ago, on the 360 as it was back then. Yeah. So I'm really happy about this. I'm loving the way that they're looking to utilize the servers, where the servers won't be overcrowded, so the wasteland isn't overcrowded. I am loving the fact that there is going to be NPCs giving lots of quests out to people, and you get to traverse the area and just do all the Fallout-y things. The one thing that concerns me is how they're going to handle the Pip-Boy and VATS. I don't know how VATS is going to work in a multiplayer environment. Because obviously that's a huge combat aspect of the previous Fallout games. So that is the one thing that I'm curious to see. They had a Fallout experience at the Bethesda booth, which was full of like cake and funny hats and people having conversations. Did you do it, Marcus?
The math.
I actually didn't do it because I don't like crowds.
Well, so that's valid. It was a long wait.
It was a long wait, so I actually went back. I went behind the stage and played Elder Scrolls Blades and Rage, which Rage looks like.
Oh, how's Rage?
It's as much fun as a barrel of monkeys after they've all snorted cocaine. It looks amazing. It plays like a bunch of fun. I like the Avalanche guys. I think they've done some great stuff in the past. I wasn't a big Mad Max fan, but this one just seems to amp up the silliness. So yeah, that was a really, really good one for me. And then my own personal 100% favorite part was when I went to the Take-Two booth, which was an enclosed booth. You couldn't get into it, and they were showing no games whatsoever, and I got to sit in air-conditioned loveliness and have a gin and tonic.
Is that what was in there? I walked by and I looked like, wow, that's some mob boss is going to be sitting behind a desk when I walk in there.
It was basically an Airbnb meets glamping meets an E3 booth. It was just an oasis, and it was so tastefully decorated. I mean, it was just... This old man rolled in, sat down, got a drink, and just, yeah, I could have stayed. I would still be there now if they hadn't kicked me out.
Markeia, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say some honorable mentions for
Sure.
things that definitely popped out. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I'm really excited about. I haven't really been on board with Laura for a little bit. And then this past movie really changed my mind with that. And I wanted to get on board with Rise. And apparently the gameplay from Rise, a lot of it is in Shadow. But playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, wow, Laura got brutal. She got brutal real quick, and I love it. I mean, she does mud as camouflage, and they focus more on underwater challenges, which I am really on board for. The way that they do it, like eels will attack you. There are piranha as an option. There are dead ends. I mean, they really grasp what fans were telling them, that we want more underwater.
Who asked for that, Markeia? That's my worst nightmare at the underwater stuff in every game.
I hate the underwater stuff, but
great because it makes you feel claustrophobic.
Markeia's right. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was excellent. I got to play the new Hitman game, which was amazing. I mean, if you've liked the IO interactive stuff in the past and you've liked the previous Hitman games, this is going to be right up your alley. I mean, what else was really, really cool? I mean, let's go talk about the press conferences. Microsoft. It was honestly,
wow.
I expected Oprah Winfrey to come out and say, you get a game, and you get a game, and you get a game, and oh look, we get a studio and another studio. I mean, they doubled their internal development staff in that one announcement. All those different dev studios coming on board. A bunch of different quality ones. We have got games after games after games that look really good. There's a new Gears of War coming.
Three new Gears of War games.
Well, this is it. I mean, they handled their conference so well and just kept on punching with the games that nobody could get upset about a Gears of War pops. Nobody got upset about it. I mean, and this is a good thing. I mean, I actually think it's going to be quite amusing and funny. But because they backed it up with, look, we are coming with Gears. Proper Gears is coming. Everybody was like,
you can't get mad about the tactics game or the Funko Pop figure game. Sure.
Exactly. The tactics was
Marcus
fantastic.
is right about that.
Absolutely.
But
because
then if you
goes for another generation.
Yeah, but if you go back 24 hours to see how not to do something like that, we go to the EA press conference. Oh, EA. Let's have and I got to say, Andrea Renee, she was awesome. That woman is just brutally brilliant. She just kept everything together as best she could. Anthem underwhelmed. They were talking about, oh, the story's going to be great. The story's going to be great. They didn't tell us anything about the story. And then, after the usual FIFA, and we have Madden, and we have this, and we have that. Now we're going to have a guy shoutcast these two guys playing an RTS on a mobile phone for 3 weeks. And we watch that and try to stay awake. And then, the dev guy just wanders on, or the marketing guy, whatever it was, they all look the same at EA. I think they cloned them. Wanders on stage and says, and so, yeah, that was Command and Conquer, reimagined for a new generation. And I could just hear so many RTS gamers from the 90s and the early 2000s scream out, like, how dare you turn Command and Conquer, Westwood's greatest gaming achievement, into a piece of crap mobile game that ends up getting shoutcasted. They did exactly the same thing to Dungeon Keeper with that atrocious mobile game. I actually think that somebody needs to put a lock on the EA vaults, and the next time some marketing dingbat wanders down there with, oh, what franchise can I screw up now and slap onto something to make some money? That person gets electrocuted.
Well, I will have to give it, because Anthem was actually one of my favorite trailers that came out of the show.
What did they show? I mean, it looks like Titanfall meets Destiny meets Iron Man, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Where's was BioWare came out and said that you would not be able to have relationships with your teammates, and the BioWare fans lost their minds.
That was ridiculous. Sorry to interrupt you, Mandy,
no, that's fine.
Like,
I am in agreement with you, Markeia.
One of the things that I loved about BioWare was you have those romantic options. I think that what it is that they ended up getting scared because people were like, hey, I would like to have more romantic options. You know, let's explore the spectrum of what is out there for human sexuality. And BioWare might have been like, oh, no, we might have been people. This might not work right. No romantic options for anyone. Like, that's not the way that you go about that.
Yeah, I think Andromeda, the lack of explosive success of Andromeda also, I think, kind of freaked them out. And so they're trying to be a little bit more careful, possibly, with Anthem.
Can we just say this is not BioWare? This is not, this is not the old man BioWare. This is not the BioWare of ME2, ME3, of Dragon Age. Jade Empire. I mean, that BioWare no longer exists because the guys stepped away to do their various things, and look, they may have dragged some people back, but I'm sorry, BioWare does tremendous RPGs, and Mass Effect Andromeda felt like BioWare by committee. It was a horrible game. Unfortunately, and having read the deep dive behind it and what went wrong, I totally see where the meddling has come from. And then Anthem just looks like, oh, we need a competitor to Destiny. We're not going to do that with Titanfall because we've buried that particular franchise into the ground by not supporting it properly. So what else can we do to try and milk it? And EA, with the exception of Square Enix's inept press conference, EA really molested the doggy. If you know what I mean, during this press conference. I mean, it was just.
Took me a second.
Well, there you go. See, look, I don't know. Can I say screwed the pooch?
Sure.
I don't know.
I think that sounds better than molested the
doggy. Yeah, definitely sounds.
But you get my point. Am I wrong?
I do.
Does Anthem look underwhelming or what?
So we have so much to cover. Let's move away from EA for a second here. We have to talk about Death Stranding because, Markeia, I remember on a last episode we talked about the Video Game Awards and that you were excited about this title. How do you still feel about this? And how do you think it's going to be perceived by, Kojima fans and Metal Gear Solid fans?
Well, oh, wow.
It's a tough trailer.
Isn't it? They, you know what? I respect that they're going there with it. It feels like this is a passion project that you are either on board for or you are not. And I completely respect that. But since the Game Awards, this has gone to a different place. I like the fact that it probably will deal with time dilation, which I'm all for time play and things, where it's like, oh hey, maybe that baby is a actual clone of the main player. Who knows? We might see old man Norman Reedus somewhere in there, but it is so. It's almost like you're involved in somebody else's story. Like it's like I don't want to say the term inside joke because it's not a joke, but it's more like it's somebody else has had this epic conversation with a developer and they know all the ins and outs. And then you're on the outside kind of looking in. So you don't completely get it, but you're excited. But I'm less excited than I was during the Game Awards for it.
I just don't want to see any more toenails being torn off Norman Reedus' feet. Thank you. That is all I'm asking for, Kojima. I don't need another one of those. And then Cameron in chat says, the Norman Reedus game looks amazing, which is Death Stranding, and also Last of Us 2. So that trailer, the cinematic, whatever you want to call it, it messed me up. I wanted more from it. Marcus, did you have a chance to check that out, and what'd you think?
I refused to watch Last of Us 2 trailer.
Why?
Why?
because I'm just going to buy the game day one. I don't want anything to spoil it because I love the first game.
I will not
it was one of the greatest games of the last generation. And I adore it, and I love Naughty Dog. So I saw some of the controversy because, oh, look, there's some people kissing and they might be of the same gender. What's going on behind that? Who cares? Grow up. This is the new millennium. People like each other. They love each other. Who cares? It's a video game. Let's have more fun. You can't be pissed off with no romance in Anthem and then get pissed off with a same-sex kiss in Last of Us 2. Grow up, people. And you know what? Look, the last game, it was just such a beautiful emotional journey as well as some scary crap going on as well. I'm there day one. So I don't need to see a trailer for that. I'm going in so blind. It's one of the few games I'm on media blackout for.
And before we go to our last commercial break, I just want to say, whoever animated that sequence of the two ladies kissing, oh my God, give that person an award immediately. That is the best animated kissing I've ever seen in a video game ever. So kudos. All right, guys.
And beautiful transition.
Yes, beautiful, everything. We're going to take a quick break. There's plenty of show still to come, and when we're back, we'll be breaking, my God, Friday. When we're back, we'll break down E3 itself and see what could have been done differently. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name's Todd. We're going to be playing some H1Z1, and a lot of you out there are going to be able to win some prizes by guessing when our guests die. Sasha, are you ready to go play some H1Z1?
Let's do this.
I think we've seen this story before.
We got a lot of guests tonight from all over the world. They're competing for a trophy, our Champion of the Night prize. Which one of you is going to be the best player tonight?
Anybody that comes in my way is done.
Get a helmet, get a backpack, get a rifle.
Kill everyone.
Kill that person.
Engage.
Kill. Oh my God!
I give the people what they want to see.
Oh my God!
Oh wow, he took a big hit. He got a gun!
Can you throw me in like the Norwegian server or like someplace where they're just not gonna find me? No. Did I die first?
No one's died that early in the game ever.
All right, welcome back. Last year was E3's first time being open to the public, but the backlash from media and industry forced a change to separate show floor hours for professionals and gamer passes. All right, Marcus, was this change successful? Oh, I didn't even see his face.
All right, so
break it down for us.
Let me just say, this E3 brought home to me that I am so happy that I had a heart attack last year, and I'll tell you why. Because when I had a heart attack and I died for X amount of time, they took me to the hospital and they put 6 pieces of metal in my heart. And those 6 pieces of metal mean that I don't have to line up for any of the security lines because I can't go through the magnetic detectors. I get to waltz into E3 with no lines. Just me, which is awesome, and I love that. Everybody else in the industry, by about, I don't know, 3:30 on Tuesday afternoon, they were all looking to leave to go to the pub. I mean, it was, you walk into the JW Marriott on Tuesday night, and it was like a war zone medical tent. You've got PR people down all over the place. You've got product managers hemorrhaging free, the blood from being scratched for free T-shirts. And obviously, look, I exaggerate a little bit. The separation, the extra hours, the trade hours, great idea. Running over till 7 o'clock really sucks for people actually working the show. And this is my problem with the ESA. The people who are making these decisions are not people who've ever manned a booth in their lives. They're not people who've ever lined up for anything in their lives. They're the ones who, when it comes to E3, are always up in the air-conditioned suites behind 3 layers of security, and they don't give a rat's ass. All they care about is, we can say that there are 65,000 people who came to E3 this year, even though 64,500 of them were pissed off. And that's the problem. So if you want to fix E3, and I actually did have a conversation with somebody from the ESA, basically separate the consumer section. We have 2 big halls and 1 little hall. We can have the South Hall just for the consumers. The West Hall and all the meeting rooms upstairs, they can be for the trade. Keep everybody separate. People get to go to the meetings. We don't need as much glitz and glamour in the trade section. You can have all that in the South section with all the T-shirts and everything else, because I don't begrudge people coming to the show, because I had a chat with several of them. They were so excited to be there, and that's fantastic. And I've kind of changed my tune a little there. But it does need to be a separation of church and state, for this show, because it's not a trade show anymore. It's like some mutant PAX hybrid that was just not well thought out.
Markeia, for someone that covers a lot of this for various outlets, do you feel like you were able to get enough done within the industry hours until kind of the floodgates opened, if you will, when the gamer passes came in?
And I've actually had this conversation a couple of times, now with developers, and then also I have a number of friends that were also working the booth. So, having that 11+ hour day, and then also I have friends that are just rabid fans, like most of us are, including with press people. So with this, I will say with E3, and it was my first E3 that I have been a part of. I very much enjoyed it because I kind of felt it was a less commercialized version of Comic-Con, so that there was less spectacle and more focus on art, which I very much enjoyed with everything that E3 had to give. And I completely understand where Marcus is coming from with it. I also kind of feel that progressing forward, just because of like technology in general, and just because of the access that people are given with social media and everything now, that this has to be a progression. This has to be thought out. I appreciated the appointment system that was made with gamers and developers and with companies. Because I was able to utilize that, I didn't have a problem with having to wait in line. If anything, I guess it would be like an express pass that you would get at Disneyland or something like that.
Yeah.
It was Fast Pass, thank you.
Thank God Nintendo implemented that, for their booths in particular.
Exactly. But I think because of that, that helped streamline a lot of things. I definitely want them to work on the things that did not work. I didn't get a chance to play Kingdom Hearts, for instance. That was a ridiculously long line, and
people got in a physical fight when they closed the line on one of the days.
Wow.
Yeah, over playing a 20-minute demo. They got in a physical altercation over.
And this is why you need to separate it, because not only the E3 staff are not trained to handle this. If you look at PAX, you have the enforcers who are, they are there to help, and they're trained in to how to defuse a situation. You've got individual booth staff who are basically, interns, marketing people, whatever. They're not trained to handle this level of insanity. And yeah, the fact that there was a fight, over Kingdom Hearts, there was a fight last year over a Mario bag. There's jostling, there's shoving. I went into Bethesda at 5 minutes to 12 on Wednesday lunchtime to go and see their games. I came out at 5 minutes. When I went in, it was, people were bustling about, but they were going to their meetings. Everybody was had a smile on their face. And literally, I came out an hour later, and the atmosphere had changed. There was shoving, there was jostling, there were people just stopping right in the middle of an intersection, especially if you looked at the intersection where you had Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, Bethesda, and Namco Bandai, all in that one four spot. I mean, it was literally like you couldn't get through there. And then, of course, you got the idiots with the selfie sticks. Because, oh, look at me, I have a selfie stick and I'm streaming, so that makes me an awesome game icon. No, it makes you an ignorant tool. Stay away with the selfie sticks. Go to a corner and stream and talk about things. Do not walk backwards into me with that selfie stick, or I will use it like a proctologist does.
I do have one gripe. So they were very strict about the bags this year. So if you were media, you were allowed to have a backpack. But if you had anything other than a media pass, an industry, gamer pass, whatever, you were not allowed to bring in a bag. So
that's not true.
Yeah,
that's not true.
You could have a tiny purse or something like a
I came in with a laptop bag on Wednesday, no problem.
Oh,
on my
well,
pass.
You're special, Marcus. We've established.
No. I seriously, I know I understand where you're coming from. The issue is the oversized bags. It was the oversized bags. For example, if you were given one of those freaky deaky oversized bags that look like you can actually house a family of 4, and then you leave the convention center, you can't bring those back in. And yes, they went anything too big didn't come in, but backpacks of a certain size were allowed. Laptop bags were also allowed as well. It wasn't as insane as I feared because, like I said, on Wednesday, I came in with my medication in there and, you know, bottle of gin and everything just to get me through.
But I'll tell you, it was very awkward at the Bethesda booth because they were giving out a lot of swag for Fallout 76, and we were all just standing in line awkwardly carrying these masks, the glass soda, you know, Quantum, and the party hats and the party noisemakers and all this stuff, and we literally had nowhere to put it because we weren't supposed to have these bags brought into the show floor, and I feel like it kept the show floor very congested because people weren't allowed to leave and then come back in if they had, you know, a lot of stuff. So
yeah, it felt like a miscommunication.
Yeah. No, good.
Yeah, it felt like a miscommunication. For one thing, with other cons, you expect swag. And because of that, I feel like that's the reason why you end up having those oversized bags. So it's interesting that oversized bag already, I'm not sure if that was there at E3 before this particular one. Like I said, this was my first one. So that's why those oversized bags, not only is it kind of that, oh, here's my plate, let me fill it. Oh, my plate is bigger, let me buy things and go to more booths and fill this plate. And that's kind of what it is with the bag. So for that bag to just appear for this E3, I think that's the whole reason why there's this disconnect, because people then feel, oh, I need to run around to as many booths as possible with this bag. But for people that E3 is an industry meeting ground, it's like, what in the crap are you doing? This is ridiculous. So that's what I see with that.
Right.
Well, this was the first year we had metal detectors as well.
Sure.
This was the first year that it was difficult to go in and out. I mean, this was my 21st E3. So, yeah, that's how old I am, folks. But the reason they brought the metal detectors in, well, you would say it's the current political climate or whatever. But again, when you open these things up to the public and you can't really track 100% what's going on, then you open yourself up to having to increase these security issues. We never had fights at E3 before last year when the public were brought in. We never had the issues that we've had this year before the public was brought in. Now, like I said, I'm not anti-public. It needs to be a separate section. It really does, because when it's trade only, you get to your appointments on time. You get to meet the right people. You get to play the games. You get enough time to get to your next appointment and crack on without being hit by one of these oversized bags. Even though the company that does those oversized bags produces that crap every year, and every year people just hate them and they end up all over the floor everywhere. But this year they've been loved because they're right there with those inflatable baseball sticks, whatever the hell it was. There was stupid swag there. Plus, people were selling merch. Never before at E3 has there been a bloody Funko booth. And I love my Funko Pops. I've got a few of them behind me. There's no place for that at E3. Fortnite had their first booth. Why? So they could sell Fortnite crap. People were in line playing Fortnite on their Switch to go and buy Fortnite crap from the Fortnite booth. Bethesda did it as well. Ubisoft, there was a line to get in. All that crap belongs at PAX. E3 is supposed to be a trade show first and foremost. Otherwise, put that stuff in Kentia Hall where it belongs and let the rest of us get on with doing our jobs, which is reporting on the industry, making deals, meeting other people, signing games, developing games, and making sure that every game that comes out is actually pretty good. Or otherwise, all we're going to have is bloody Fortnite clones for the next 20 years.
Sure. So Marcus suggested separating the show into, say, the South Hall for industry and for press, and maybe the West Hall for the gamer passes, whatever, vice versa, blah, blah, blah. Markeia, do you think there's another way to make the show better? I mean, what would you advise the ESA do moving forward?
Well, if it was a separation of church and state, like Marco was saying, then probably West Hall for public and South Hall for industry, or actually, yeah, vice versa, because South Hall is way bigger. But with this, I think this is a really great opportunity to listen to industry and developers, to people like Marcus that are saying that this does not work, but to listen to that, but then also learn from Comic-Con. I love San Diego Comic-Con. It is also a huge sprawling mess that just keeps on it's like urban sprawl that has happened from the convention center out. And I think that there can be a very happy medium between the two, but they really do have to listen and see what works. If they love the numbers, if they love people buying merch, then great. You have to have that, but you have to have people that are trained to handle public, like Marcus was saying, but you also have to have that appointment schedule so that your press and your industry can know about these games and not have to stay in like a 2-hour line or something just to be able to do a demo.
Yeah.
There is a happy medium, and I know that they can find it, but they are going to have to put money and resources behind making that happen.
Right. All right. Well, huge thank you to both Markeia and Marcus for joining us today. And of course, our viewers. Tell us where people can find you on social media, starting with Marcus.
You can follow me at Annoyed Gamer. And if the ESA does want to hire me to consult on the next E3, I am available and very reasonable.
Thanks, Marcus. All right, Markeia, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Markeia McCarty. It's exactly my name with that silent E. And also, I'm available for consultation, and I love Doctor Who, and I'm available for moderating SDCC panels.
Fantastic. And thanks to everyone who watched, commented, and shared the show. I'm Andy Roman. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and watch Game Talk Live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific. Have a great weekend.